Hello. Another challenge you may face when you start creating consciously is that it may not seem like what you're doing is actually working. So a big reason for this is what I explained in the previous video, which is talking about the natural growth code in the universe along the lines of the Fibonacci sequence, where things are very slow in the beginning in terms of the results you get from taking action, and then they get more and more and more as time goes by. But there's also another reason why it seems like things aren't working. We all actually have a very limited perception of how things can happen and the way that things should be happening. So we get stuck on this very limited perception. Inevitably, things aren't going to happen, exactly as we had thought that they would. In fact, the way it unfolds, it will rarely happen in the way that you imagine it. Now, that's actually a good thing, right? Can you imagine if things only happened in the way that our very limited perspective allowed for it to unfold based on what we can see? Life would become very boring if things happened only the way that we expected them to. So please understand, it may not seem like it's working based on your perception of how things should happen and can happen. Okay, it's very hard to see sometimes how things are working out because we can't see a lot of what is actually going on. So as an example, so that your mind can grasp this concept a little better, think about when you first use Google Maps or a Google navigation system in your car to drive somewhere new, right? To go somewhere you've never been before. So what you do is you get in the car and then you put in the end destination address. That's where you're going. This is your creation. And then you put in your starting location, right? Where you are now or your now moment. Does this sound familiar? Notice how you've just set up the creation structure. Interesting, right? So then you click the button that says create the route, and now you start to take action, right? And the action is the bridge between the 2 points. So you put the car into gear, and then you follow the directions on the map. So do you see that you've just set up how all creation should be, right? There's no problem in this. There's nothing you're trying to get away from. It's just, I'm here now and I choose to go here. Now, what's in between? The necessary action to get there. And that's it. You just drive the car. But consider this, right? So you've never been to this location before. You've never created the new creation that you want to create before either. Right, so when you do this, you know that it's worked correctly only when you turn the last corner. So think about that. You only know that the Google Maps have worked correctly and that you've got to your destination. You can only see it when you turn the last corner. This is really important to understand because this is going to feel the same when you're creating something new. You won't know it's actually worked until you arrive. And, it may seem all along the way, you aren't even going in the right direction, that you may be doing it wrong. You may even feel lost, which can happen when you're going somewhere new in the car. You may even feel lost. So what I want to explain, and I promise you that if you stay in the right structure, it's going to resolve itself and you'll get there. Just like with the Google Maps metaphor, it will always get there if you just keep going. But along the way, often it might feel like it's not working. And this is where faith and trust comes into the creating process. Our minds are always asking, how am I going to do this? How? And if it can't see how, it doesn't really want to move. It doesn't really want to take that first step. So you need to trust that when you are in the structure of creating the creation structure, that the how will reveal itself in the next step. And then you just need to follow it. And it's the same with the Google Maps example, right? You just take the next street that the map says. And you can only see the next street once you turn the corner, right? So you can't see all the twists and turns from the beginning. You can see it on the map, but I'm talking about when you're actually driving. You can't see all the twists and turns because you're actually driving the car, and you have to wait till you get to the end to look around and take the next street. It's only once you get to the end that you can see the next street. And this is a really good example of how creation actually works. It has all the elements to it. So when you think it's not working, think back to this and just trust that if you're in the creation structure, it must resolve itself to where you want to go.